Welcome to another episode of Life in Focus, where we dive into the world of real estate through real-life experiences and insights from our guests. I'm your host, Ben Tate, and today I'm joined by Shannon Fishboy Gaines. Shannon, appreciate you taking the time to come. How's it going?
No problem. I appreciate you having me. Just another day in paradise.
There you go.
Living the dream.
I love it. Hey, I appreciate you taking time away from your busy schedule, from the family, from work to come on. But, I want to, talk to you a little bit about your small business. You've been doing it for almost, I guess over a decade now.
Yeah.
And then we'll end with some real estate discussion, just, relative to what you're going through right now on the real estate front. But let's, before we get into that, you want to share a little bit about your background, where you grew up and, what you do for work.
So, yeah, I'm from Ruskin. My dad owns a tropical fish farm. I grew up on as a little boy growing up and just working a lot of times. And, that's what drove me to have the passion to, work ethic I have now. And, that's where the whole fish boy came from, too. Coach Ed, had to throw it in there when we were kids. But it's just kind of stuck. And I kind of, I liked it. I enjoyed it. Growing up, it was kind of something else. I didn't like my name.
Yeah.
It was a girl's name, but so it kind of helped out with that. And everybody knew me as that. And, Fish Boy was always late because he was working.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things, and I take pride in it and honor, and I love it. So
you said you grew up on a fish farm, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so tell us a little bit about life on a fish farm, right? We know a little bit about high level life on a farm, but how's life on a fish farm? It seems like it might be early mornings. You probably started working in high school age, maybe even before. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, there'd be early mornings. With Dad would have to get up early. Sometimes during summer times we'd get up 3 o'clock in the morning with them bagging out fish, have them delivered by 6, ready to get on the airplanes and stuff or whatever they got to do. But the farm itself, it's a different nature. It's a different beast. The pumps, the hoses, you got to be very hands-on. You got to be mechanical. You got to know how to fix things on a dime. You got to be able to come over adversity. With all of those things, as a young age being taught, it kind of really helped me in my professional life now as a business owner to be able to overcome problems when they occur on a job site, or if somebody else messes up, or stuff like that. But the farm was really, really tough. There was no slacking. Long, hard days,
Yeah.
12, 14 hours, hot.
Yeah, absolutely.
So snakes, I don't like them.
Yeah.
But you got to deal with them. But it was something that made a money.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of money just got to get us by as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
It's a dying industry, obviously. Not a lot of people have a fish tank anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So that was another reason why I chose to expand and do something different. Like, I'll be the 4th generation if I took over the farm.
Sure.
There's nobody has a fish tank, but everybody has a screen cage.
Mm-hmm.
I'm small, lightweight,
Yeah.
but I can still get the job done.
Sure.
So climbing the cages and screening was just something that came natural to me. I'm very athletic, so it kind of worked out.
So yeah, when did you first start? So were you working in the screen business prior to starting your own company, or kind of how did that all start?
So yeah, I started when I was like 18. I was still in high school. It was just for a couple months in between my junior and senior year.
Mm-hmm.
I did a little bit of aluminum work for my neighbor, and then when I graduated, I still did landscaping a little bit prior to that.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was my neighbor, so one day he came to me and he's like, "Hey, you want a real job?"
Mm-hmm.
He goes, "You're small enough, you're lightweight, you can walk the cages, you're long. Let's see what you can do."
So he owned his own company at that time, or
Yeah,
he just needed you to help
he
him
was
out?
a subcontractor.
Okay.
He was working for other contractors, getting big jobs done.
Mm-hmm.
So I started doing prefab cages.
Okay.
It's a little bit different.
Yeah, explain that a little bit.
So when we would build the cages prefab when I first started, they would be already put together in a sense. We just put them together as a puzzle. Mm-hmm. So now I've learned from different companies working with prior how to stick build. And there's 2 different options. It doesn't really make much of a difference. Some people like one over the other, but to me, I don't care.
Yeah, similar.
So, but he knew how to do both. When you get a prefab, you're going to sometimes still have a job that has to be built on job. We'd call it BOJ. Well, when you have those, you got to have somebody that's skilled and knows what he's doing. If you're not a builder, you're not going to know how to do that BOJ. So he would get those because he knew. And so I learned from one of the best. And then I think that's what drove me to try to want to learn from other companies. When he ended up leaving and moving down south, he left me with a a couple companies down here in Ruskin. You got those Brates Aluminum, Knox Aluminum, New Wave, and stuff like that.
Okay.
Good guys.
That you were just helping them on their job still at
So
that point?
at that point, he left. I worked with him for a couple years. His name was Ed. When he left, he put me on those other companies, kind of, in a sense, and said, hey, look, one of these companies you need to go work for, if not all of them.
Right.
Just work for somebody. Keep in the business.
Keep learning, keep growing.
Exactly.
Yep.
And so I did that for 8 years, just going to different companies, 10 years, the whole time.
Okay.
And then the past 2 years, so 12 years total.
So you've been doing screens for about 12 years
12
total.
years, yeah.
Yep.
And so 10 years I was, working for other companies. And the past 2 years is when 2 years ago is when I made the decision,
Yeah.
to
Well, that's
just
funny too.
do my own
'Cause
thing.
A lot of people say that you have to master something before you get paid for it, technically.
For sure.
And so I would say that it takes around about like if you start something and you stick to it for 10 years, it's obviously inherently you're so much better, but it's such a vast, stark difference, right?
Yeah.
And I would say you probably spent those 10 years mastering it, feeling comfortable, going through the bumps and bruises without having the responsibility of owning the company that's going through that job, right?
Oh, definitely a bunch of scars.
Yeah.
And my hands are beat up.
So you've been running your own business for at least a couple years now.
Yeah.
How did that process first start? How did you what was the first thing you did? Did you go to work? Ask somebody to help you set up an LLC?
So
or, what was the first thing you
my
did?
wife played a big part in that.
Okay.
She definitely lit the fire underneath the.
Yeah.
That's
good.
It lit the
You need
fire.
somebody to push you sometimes.
For sure. So, but I was working for those companies. You know what I mean? I had a company I was working for prior. Great guys. Still talk to them. Still network with them. And I just felt like it was time. I knew a lot. I was doing a lot of the customer service for the company prior that I worked for. I was very good speaking to people and letting the customer know essentially what is the best option for them on the job sites and how I looked at it professionally building it. You can draw stuff on a paper all day and it looks good, but when you go out there and build it, it's totally different.
Right.
And you're going to come across adversity and you're going to come across Mother Nature. You're going to come across all those things I talked about prior when it comes to the farm. And that's what I think helped me be able to apply to my business, like I'm saying. And so with those things, it helped. But
it probably just added tools to your toolbox,
exactly.
like the intangibles.
Exactly. But going through and trying to, how do I put this? Like, I don't want to say do stuff for other people, but knowing that I could do stuff for other people and help their business grow, then why couldn't I do it for myself?
Right.
And so I was like, you know what? Let's just do it. I'm at that age. I'm almost 30 years old. I'm 31 now, but I was almost 30 then.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, let's
try
get it.
At the end of the day, you could fail and come back and do what you're doing already.
Exactly. There's always, other options. There's always a plan B. You strive for plan A to work, but if plan B is plan B, then that's God's will. But it's near here or there. I'm very appreciative of my wife lighting that fire underneath my butt to do it because it helps.
Sometimes when you work so long and you become good, especially in the service industry, you're an artist, so to speak.
Oh, for sure.
And sometimes when you're an artist, if you don't have that business acumen, you need somebody to kind of give you that push or that nudge or give you the confidence that say, hey, you're really good at this, you're great at it. Why not do it for yourself, right? Stop filling into your own bucket.
Exactly, and she did that. Yeah. She would have me do projects at home.
Yeah.
And then she knew. She's like, Shane, I've never seen, you have an eye for it. You can just see it when you walk into the backyard. You can already see what's going to be there. But that's from years of doing it. When I first started, I didn't see. I'd walk back there like, how are we supposed to do this? Look at the blueprint, all silly, like a bunch of lines. But now it's kind of means something. I can see it without even seeing it.
Sure. So what do you think maybe it's a couple things, but what do you think is the biggest thing that's like a misnomer? Like when you're on the job site with somebody that wants to think about hiring you for your services, but maybe they've never put in a screen before, maybe they've never even talked to a screen company, they have no idea of cost. They're just like, hey, let me have them come out here, see what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can afford it. What's the biggest thing that you feel like you've run into where people just aren't aware and you kind of have to educate them when it comes to screens?
Oh, bro, a lot of people will try to, like I said, cut corners.
Yeah.
A biggest thing I run across is people, they want the solid roofs, but they don't want to pay the extra money for the better roof. It is, it's probably, I would say, close to $6 to $10 more square foot.
Okay. For a harder cover roof?
For a harder cover roof, but then there's two options. You know what I'm saying? You can get a cheaper pan, but then you get the insulated 3-inch solid roof you can get up there and walk on.
So what's the value difference, right? Because price is subjective. So what's the value between
value
the two?
difference? You got a thin piece of metal that flaps in the wind that can blow away from a hurricane, no problem. Versus a solid 3-inch foam that they build houses out. You can literally build a house out of it, and that's going to be your roof.
Okay.
You can get up there and walk on it, clean out your gutters if you have a lot of trees around. Better quality product.
Sure.
The pans will do this job. It'll keep water from going inside your screen room, but you're going to be hot. The pans are not going to keep the heat. Even if you do insulate the pans, now you're adding more screws, you're adding more holes, you're adding more options for leaks. It's just more of a weaker, not good product.
Gotcha. Versus
a stronger, more durable, insulated product. And that's where me personally, I run into a lot of problems for insulated roofs.
Gotcha.
Screen-wise, depends on if you're by the saltwater. If you want privacy, different things like that. A common is just the regular 1814. And then you get the 2020 no-seams. Because
is the 2020 now like the most popular thing?
That is, if you're by the saltwater, that is like the way to go.
Yeah. Or a lot of plants or landscaping.
Well, that too, but the saltwater produces a different type of small no-seam.
Gotcha.
Freshwater, not so much. It's more mosquitoes. The swamp, same thing. And then just regular, subdivision ponds. Stuff like that, you're not really going to get a no-seam.
Okay.
But if you're within, I would say, 5 to 10 miles from the saltwater.
Interesting.
And just depending, you might get 15, depending on the no-seam. If it gets a wild hair and it wants to run farther.
I never knew that. I always assumed it was just like a Florida thing. So that's kind of interesting.
No, sir. Yeah, the saltwater definitely is where the no-seams are at.
Okay.
So,
are you getting more new screen construction jobs or more repair jobs, would you say? Obviously, I know hurricanes are going to be repair jobs, but like just in general from like an annual perspective, from a yearly basis.
Dude, I would say it's split.
Yeah.
I get a lot of lanais, a lot of people getting into new homes, and they don't want to extend. It's a lot of money to extend.
Yep.
The concrete, you got the overhangs, you got stuff you got to do, versus just, framing in an existing roof from the house. We call it a lanai, slip under, wrap under, whatever other people call it as well.
Yep.
I get a lot of those.
Okay.
A lot of those, people want to add doggy doors to existing cages, rescreen them. Your screen's going to last on average 5 to 10 years. So
that's a big spread.
Yeah, but it just depends on a lot of sun.
Yeah.
If you get more sun, you're probably looking at the 5 years.
Gotcha.
If the person that put it in before didn't use a better product, then it's going to last, not as long.
Gotcha.
If they, a lot of people do this in roofs. They roll them over. You know what I'm saying? There's a roof, there's broken down into sections. If it's rolled over, it has less resistance to blow out. So it's just going to blow out versus being individual panels. And then now as a customer, I can come and just replace that one panel and just charge you a one panel fee versus now I got to charge you all 4 if it's rolled over.
Gotcha.
Just the different services is what's going to make it last longer.
That makes sense.
And that's why I said quality is definitely worth it at the end. So if you're a customer and you're wanting quality work, then just make sure you're getting what you pay for. Just ask questions. It's not going to hurt.
Right.
And if the contractor gets upset because you're asking questions as a customer, you probably don't want to go with them anyway.
So you brought up a really good point. So if I'm looking to get a screen, what are the top 3, 4, 5 questions that I want to ask as a client that doesn't know anything? But what questions can I ask to make sure that I'm vetting out the vendor if I'm not calling you? Obviously.
What type of screen are you going to be providing?
Okay.
If you have a cage, are you going to roll over my roof, like I just said? If you're going to rescreen my cage, are you going to replace my door handles, my door kits, my hardware, the bug sweeps at the bottom? I throw that in on mine. Let's see, the kick plate. A lot of people don't realize it, but if you have your grass right up against your screen, 9 times out of 10, your weed eater is going to hit it.
Right.
That kick plate might cost you double at the time, but over the next 2 years, if you hit that panel twice, you've already spent the money to do it. You might as well just replace it and put
Makes
kick
sense.
plate. So you got the kick plate option. Like I said, the doggy door before. Those are big things. Just the color. A lot of people worry about the color, fading. You can't do nothing about it. It's a Florida heat. You can repaint them. That's a new thing now. Sure. Everybody's repainting them.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get into that. I'm thinking about getting into it. I got a couple guys. I've already did one. But it's just another
thing to add.
and it's just another service. Now you got to You got to be prepared for that, to deal with other things going wrong and things to go right. You know, you got to find somebody else to help.
Does the money even make sense at that point too?
Sometimes.
Right? Yeah.
Sometimes it would.
Maybe you can offer it almost as like a maintenance package, right?
Well,
Like how people get their AC maintained once a year, maybe.
That's what, and that was
like
another thing. So like for hurricane season, like right now, a lot of people was like, "Oh, I don't want to rescreen my cage." Okay, fine. I totally agree. I'm not going to try to sell you anything.
Yeah.
But what I will sell you, and you probably do need it, is tap cons. A lot of people don't realize the bottom track on their cages is held down by tap cons, which is concrete screws that go into the concrete that hold the whole cage down.
Okay.
If those are rusted out, then they're no good. It's going to make your cage fly away.
Right.
And then you got the other customer that says, "Oh, well, why don't we use stainless steel?" Well, I wasn't really that good in science, but I do realize that a stainless steel and the aluminum in a chemical compound, it doesn't mix.
Is there any way, and this is just me asking like a crazy brainstorming question, but is there any way that there will ever be, shutters for screens one day? Or some
Shutters?
level of the same type of technology, right? Maybe it's not an actual shutter that you put over a window, but the same technology that can shield your screen from these big storms?
So they do make a steel screen, and I don't know who does it. There's a guy out there that does them, and it's like protective, and they're like for back lanais or front lanais and stuff. They're supposed to be like the old bars, like back in the day for the windows.
Okay.
They're like that, but
Interesting.
like screen.
Yeah.
Like literally like screen, like steel, metal, but it's just in the same shape as the screen. I've never seen it installed. I've seen a few houses that have it, but now you're talking about
That's a lot more money, and people are already trying to pinch
Exactly.
pennies on the basic stuff. They're
Exactly.
not going to do that.
exactly, and the screen's cheap. You know, you're looking at anywhere from $1.60 to $5 a square foot. I know that's a big jump, but there's like 10 different types of screens.
I mean, when you do a job now, do you say, listen, if this, obviously you guarantee your work for X amount of time.
2 years.
Right. And so, but is that pending a storm though?
So that's a good question. I had a client ask me the other day, I did a rescreen on his roof. He had 40/40, which is a shade screen. He didn't really like it. It was more heavier duty, like thicker. So it kind of wanted to flop with the wind easier.
Gotcha.
The previous person that installed it did roll it over, so that didn't help.
Okay.
It causes it to be weaker, like I said before. He ended up wanting to go with the 20/20 in the roof to help it. He said it did that much more of a shade, and he can just pop up an umbrella. But with that being said, he was worried about a hurricane. Like, we're rescreening this before a hurricane. I said, "Sir, look, I doubt it's going to come out, but the only way I can help you is if it's under a Category 1 and something happens and it's my fault." I said, "If it's over that, then we'll talk about it." I said, "I'm not going to tell you no, I'm not going to warranty it, but I'm not going to tell you yes, I can warranty the whole thing. Let's reevaluate the situation when the problem does occur."
Right. Because you got to still make money at the end of the day too.
Well, exactly, and that was the thing. And then I gave him a discount because he was doing the whole thing. And a lot of people don't realize that too. Like, you're going to do one panel versus the whole thing, you're probably going to save $20 a panel.
Right.
So he took into consideration. We did the whole thing, and I'm hoping I don't have to hear back from him. But I don't.
I mean, hurricane season is technically close to 6 months long, so it's like it's a 50-50 chance that
But then, like I said, now I warranty it for 2 years.
Right.
So he's wanting me to still warranty it for 2 years, and I'm like, okay, I can,
Well,
but to a certain extent.
Yeah, I feel like you should warranty it outside of, like you said, a hurricane. But if a hurricane does hit and that client already came to you once, maybe you can say, "Listen, I'm going to give you a guarantee X% off," or whatever it is.
Well, see, that was the thing. If there's one panel out, hey,
just different.
I might just come do it for you.
Right.
It's not a big deal. I appreciate your business to begin with. You know what I mean? But now if you got half the roof out or the whole roof out, let's probably reevaluate. Maybe I can split it. Maybe split it with you, something like that. But I can't lose because of Mother Nature.
Right.
It just doesn't make sense.
So what do you think is like the next, what's like the next big step for you to take your business to the next level? Is it just finding, people to take on roles of delegation? Is it finding some more labor to help you take on bigger jobs or finish jobs quicker so you can take on more jobs? Or what would you say is the next step towards you scaling? Or making more money, let's say. How can you generate more NOI?
I mean, to be honest, it's just more networking. I think me networking and just get my name out there. Just keep doing that. I got plenty of guys that have their own screen repair business, so I can just have them come help me, and they have their own company. It's just it's not a big deal. So to go get somebody on the books for me, I want to be at a different place. Not, you know what I mean?
Yep.
I'm just not there yet to be able to hire a true employee that works for Fish Boy Screens.
Right.
But to be able to network and have other people that still subs,
Yep.
it's a little bit easier, I feel like, for now.
Yeah, it's a starting point.
But that's definitely, that's what I'm striving for.
Okay.
Is to have a couple guys that's underneath, Fish Boy Screen.
That
can go run a job
and
for
you
me.
can secure more jobs.
And then that's where I can secure.
Yep.
Exactly. I
That's
do
beautiful.
estimates. And if they need help, then that's where I'm there. I can just ride out and
still
help them
there
real
to
quick.
make sure that at the end of the day, it's still your brand, it's still your name, so you still want to make sure that the quality's there.
Oh,
but if
definitely.
you can, if you can spend most of your week procuring new jobs, new assignments, that's where you're going to start seeing your revenue grow.
But I think, yeah, for sure. But I think another thing for me, though, is if I do get to that point and just thinking about it, trying to be proactive, I don't want to have my employees deal with the customers like I did at previous employers. I think it's my job as a business owner, as the boss, I can send my guys out there to do the job, but now it's my responsibility to come back and deal with the customer as a professional business owner, opposed to leaving it to them and, okay, yeah, you write them a check, they give you a receipt, so on and so forth, and never see you again as a customer.
Right.
That, to me, is...
You're not going to build rapport that way.
Exactly.
Because then it feels like you just called like the local plumber or electrician to come fix something, and they just sent out their guy that does the repair, and you don't even know the guy behind the screen. You know, so no, I agree with that. But so again, a lot of people that think that they want to go start their own thing don't know about the LLC setup or the paperwork or the insurance or the admin that comes with it or the bank account setup or making sure you don't commingle your funds from your personal and your business funds.
Learned that last year.
Right. And then the taxes and making sure you save. And so, you can't just be fed up with your boss and say you want to start your own thing. The first step is having the expertise to do the thing. Right. So, and I think that's important too, right? Is again, you spent 10 years doing the thing, learning the thing, mastering the thing, and now it's time for you to, spread your wings and get paid for doing the thing on your own terms, create your own schedule.
For sure.
A lot of times when you're doing your own thing, you're actually working arguably probably more, if not harder, than when you work for somebody else.
Oh, definitely.
And so, how do you balance, again, having a family, having a wife at home, but also understanding that you have to you have to commit X amount of hours per week for your business to even be successful?
Yeah, I mean, great question. My wife and I just had a new baby, so that's
congrats.
big. That's huge. She's 7 months old. She's adorable. Yesterday, we dealt with it yesterday. You know what I mean? I'm on a job site. It's raining. It's Florida. Of course, you got to deal with the weather.
Yep.
Customer was very, very cool, very understanding. It was raining. I kind of got a couple stuff done in between the rain. Had other clients call and stop by, wanting the quotes, and my wife calls and says, the baby's not feeling good. She has a little rash underneath her eye. Something's going on. I'm like, she's probably just a little paranoid, but it's okay. Let's just go figure it out.
Yeah.
I said, okay, I'm on my way home. I got to stop and do these one or two estimates. I already told Mr. Bishop that we're coming back Sunday to finish this. It's just too wet. I'm not trying to get sick playing in this.
Sure.
I said, I'll be home shortly anyways. It just makes sense for me to better come home. Now, I could have called my previous employer before I started my own business and called him and said, hey, something's going on with my daughter. If I was still working there, I could probably call him and say, hey, can I go home, take care of my kid? He would probably say yes. But being a business owner and being able to do what I did yesterday is huge for me. As a man, I want to be able to be there for my family and be there for my kids, for my wife. So when she's dealing with something like that and she's home with a baby and I can just take off and leave, then that means a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that does mean now I got to put more hours in.
Sure.
Because I've spent there. Exactly. So when you do that, as a business owner, you got to realize now you got to make up for this because now you got customers that are really relying on you too.
Right.
So
I think
it's huge because as a business owner, you want to rely. You want to try to dedicate your time majority to the customers because that's how your revenue comes in.
Yeah.
But realistically, the way I was raised, and biblically, as my dad would say, you need to take care of your family.
Absolutely.
Family comes first. So I would never, if a customer couldn't understand, I shouldn't probably be working for you anyways.
Yeah, not the right customer for you anyways.
Exactly.
But obviously that's a tough. The thing is too is you're not going to go start your own business if you're trying to find balance.
Oh,
right?
no.
Because there's no balance
There's
when you're
none.
trying to be successful with your own thing. But what you do have to strive for and become successful at is compromise, in my opinion, right? And the compromise changes daily, right?
Very
so you have
much
to
so.
compromise your time daily. Like you said, if I missed time at home on the front end, I got to make it up on the back end. If I missed time in the business on the front end, I got to make it on the back end, right? But you're just making constant compromises each day. And again, you can at the back of your mind understand that there needs to be some level of balance from a human perspective.
For sure.
But you have to understand that just having the perfect balance doesn't coincide with being a business owner. You know what I'm saying?
No, but I feel like if you have your priorities straight, if you personally as a human being know, okay, I want to do this, and you put your mind to it, then you're gonna do that.
Yep.
But if you're like all over the place, willy nilly, like okay, whatever, like you're saying, but you have to be like, I don't want to say willy nilly, but you put a few hours here, a few hours there, but like you're saying, organize it and make sure you're making times for these things. Then it's not a big deal because now you're prioritizing
the things that make
your priorities.
Yep, I agree. So another important question here, right? So as a business owner, you're generating money, right? How, again, you have a family at home that you're trying to provide for, right? You can't use all the money the business makes to just fund that, fund your family, because the business wouldn't have enough funds to keep its growth and trajectory, right? So how do you balance understanding that the business needs to maintain certain cash flow and reserves and savings so you can do things with the business, but also understanding that you also need to bring home the bacon to make sure that the family's taken care of too? Like how do you find that balance from the financial standpoint?
So I try to just make sure, so the business has to be able to generate bill wise right now roughly $1,000.
Okay.
So I got to make sure I do that. And then after that, now I got to try to pay myself.
Okay.
But I don't want to pay myself a crazy amount of money.
Sure.
Because then it doesn't, you know what I mean?
You want to make sure the business is still there.
Exactly. I got to make sure the business still makes money and still can, if I got to go buy a drill bit, or I got to go buy a ladder, I got to go buy a chop saw the other day.
Absolutely.
My chop saw went out, $300.
Yep.
No big deal. But it would have been a big deal if I didn't prioritize.
Right.
Credit cards are huge.
Credit cards are huge for points. And
Jeez, I'm telling you, but they can get you in some trouble too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you just got to be on top of it. Definitely, when you get paid for a job, like you're saying, split up what needs to go where, and so on and so forth. I think I've always been good at managing money. So I think as a kid, I bought my first vehicle.
Yeah. That's also because you were working since you were a kid.
Well,
so I think when you start working early and your dad instills those good habits
Qualities.
and practices and morals and understand, again, just good habits really.
Very much so.
And I think when you work young, you understand the value of a dollar young.
Oh,
and
dude.
the more you understand the value of a dollar, the less quick you are going to be to spend it on things for no reason, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people look at price, and people always say, are you frugal or cheap, right? For me, cheap is based on price, frugal is based on value, right?
Yeah.
And so both can be the same, but I'm not going to buy this thing just because it's $1 if I can spend $1 more and I'm going to get $5 of value or whatever the case is,
Yes,
so,
very much so.
I think that's an important lesson that you learn, but I think you learn it a lot earlier when your parents put your feet to the fire a lot early to help around help around the house, help around the farm, whatever the case is.
Dad didn't buy me my first pair of J's, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I had to buy my own.
Yeah.
And I think that's what helps. So me being able to manage the money between the family and the business for the bills, that's not really a big deal for me. Sometimes it does get stressful whenever you don't have work.
Yeah.
That's when it comes into networking and trying to expand.
Yep.
It's huge, but it can get scary at times. There's been a couple times where, I don't have no jobs. A couple weeks. And
Sure. That's
you're
just,
like, oh
that's
man,
just part of it, right?
now the bills are coming at the end of the month. I didn't even generate the $1,000
Yep.
for the bills for the business.
Yep.
Now what am I going to do to generate the money to take care of the family?
Exactly.
So you try to put money in reserves and save. Yeah. But then now you're saving in the business, but now, okay, you didn't work for 2 weeks. Now how are you going to pay yourself?
So again, for somebody else that may want to start their own business, especially if it's in the service industry, more blue collar in nature, right? Let's just say, even if it's white collar, it doesn't really matter. It's just, you're starting your own business. Do you think that it's important to have some level of reserves for
For sure.
for those bumps and bruises?
For sure. If you don't have money put aside, and it's going to be hard at first.
Yep.
I didn't have 10 or 20 grand laying around for a mess up.
Most people don't.
You know what I mean? You don't. But if you can have that laying around, just in case something happens, your truck, your AC goes out at your house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I still rent from my dad, but that's when I plan on buying that house eventually. So I got to take those things into considerations. I'm planning on living here. So I got to think, okay, I need to make sure I'm buying good valued stuff for my house now. So 5 years down the road when I do purchase it, it's not a big deal.
So yeah, let's talk about that. So you're thinking about buying a property from your family, right?
Yeah.
Which again is going to make it a little easier on you because again you're self-employed, so the pre-approval process for that can be more rigorous if you were to go buy a property on the open market. Not to say you can't do it, but obviously it'll make it a little bit harder. given interest rates right now, given
Yeah.
what 300 grand will get you, what 200 grand will get you, maybe it makes more sense to, buy something internally with a family connection, maybe add value to that property
Yes.
once you own it. And then from the equity that you have in that property, that should propel you to your next home purchase, right?
Well, yes, but me personally, I don't. Unless it's got property on it, I don't plan on moving.
Okay.
I love where I grew up there. I would like to build another house.
I was going to say you might build a house there, yeah.
That'd be nice.
But you can use equity from that current property.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we've talked about that before.
To fund your construction, yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about that before. And that would
Yeah.
be great. That's a great idea. I know
Yeah.
we've discussed it, but where do I see that in my plans right now?
Yeah.
That's kind of tough.
Why? Are you thinking about where you're at today? Or are you thinking about where you could be in 5 years, 3 years?
Well, you just never know. I mean, I would want to by then have the property, still live in the double wide, and then at that point, like you're saying, look into taking the equity out or if the interest rates keep on going up and the value of stuff keeps on going up, then that's going to help me.
So let me ask you:
to be able to
Are
do
you
that.
buying the double wide? Or are you buying the double wide and
With
the
the
land?
property, yeah, I really want the property. It's the acre. You
need the
can't
land.
get that.
You need the land.
Yeah, the
double
land's
wide's
where it's
not-
at.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
The land will appreciate over time, and the equity you have in the dirt will let you fund.
Yes.
And the thing is, if you own the dirt, that will be your equity towards your construction.
Exactly, because
Right?
then they could always take
Well-
the property if I didn't pay it.
Well, not only just they have some level of collateral,
Exactly.
but most importantly, it'll likely negate you needing to put a down payment on a new construction home because your land will count as that down payment.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep. So I would just say the first thing is figuring out a way to acquire the property with the land.
Yeah.
I would say do not buy that property from a family member if it doesn't come with the land.
Oh yeah, no, it would
You know
come
what I'm
on
saying?
the land. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't buy just like the double wide itself.
Yeah.
You know.
See, but you know what hurts me? I feel like is because I own my own company, and I don't want to say I don't generate enough money to pay myself, but I don't pay myself enough to show that I could afford that house. Versus when I did work for companies, I had a W-2, had X amount of income coming in every year.
Yep.
Like, running your own business, it's hard.
You just got to get creative with it.
I feel like I have a lot more business expenses
Yep.
than I do being able to pay myself because it's so hard
Sure.
to run. There's so much things. There's so many different things that you run across, and a lot of people don't realize that.
Yep.
Like you think you're gonna open a business, you're gonna make a bunch of money. Well, your business is gonna need a bunch of money to run.
Yep. Exactly.
So the majority of your money is gonna go into your business, whether or not you're saving it for a hard time, or you're actually putting the money back into the business by buying equipment,
Yep.
buying another truck.
Well, here's the thing too: is like again, a lot of people that work in more of a corporate or 9-to-5 atmosphere, right? They can sometimes have what they call the golden handcuffs,
Yep.
where you work your way up, you work really hard to be good at something, to where you get a compensation that makes you comfortable with your cost of living, but then you buy the new car, you buy this, you buy that. You take a couple vacations maybe you shouldn't have, and so then now I have to come back to that corporate 9-to-5 because I have to pay back my credit cards or pay back the stuff that I just went and spent, and then that you kind of stay stuck in that cycle. And so I just think that as a small business owner or as a business owner, you're going to be taxed the least, right? So I think it's really about controlling your expenses, your living expenses, and if you can do that, then you're already winning, because the real reason why you want to start a business is not really to make a bunch of money. That would be great. That's a cherry on top. It's really to limit your tax liability. Yes. Right? And to give yourself the most tax write-offs.
For sure.
Right? Even if you have a W-2 job, you should go open an LLC that you can take losses against that W-2. Right? And so a lot of people don't know that. They have high W-2 paying jobs. Like, hey, just go start an LLC for your hobby, for this.
And invest your money into the company.
Exactly. And so, sometimes I always say use earned income for investments.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I'm saying? And, that's why I never talk down on people having a regular job, so to speak, is because that's going to allow you to have the opportunity to go start your own thing, right?
The two contractors that I just networked with this past week,
Yeah.
they both have other jobs or have other companies.
Yeah.
So it's like it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Now, I feel like I could do that? Not at the time. Not right now.
Sure.
It's just a little bit too much, trying to do
Like
that.
you said, bite off what you can chew at this time. But again, have a plan for where you want to be. Figure out where you want to be in 3 years. Figure out where you want to be in 5 years, and back into it. You know what I'm saying? And so obviously take things step by step. But again, it's just about getting creative. That's what I would say. You just got to get more creative, and again, you owning the business is step one, and it allows you to be more creative with it. But again, you don't know how creative you need to be or what you need to be creative with until you know where you need to where your destination is. Yeah. So that's why it's a big thing. So, you kind of already answered this question, but do you have certain things set in place, with you and your wife or internally with your family in regards to, saving goal, like, your goals towards saving or putting yourself in a good position to
So me and my wife do. It's tough with the kids. School time just came too, so school's closed shopping.
Absolutely.
It's tough to be able to do that, but it's something that we definitely talk about and we definitely do. We practice to save and put money aside for tough times or even for the future, like
other goals,
other things we want to be able to do in life. She wants a new car. Okay, well then you might want to start putting extra money from your paycheck.
Right.
She has a great job, so that definitely does help.
Yep.
So if there is bad weeks that I have, it does help that she has a job. That's when I should have, like you were saying, maybe a W-2 job, but it's just sometimes a hit or miss to be able to do that.
Well, think about this. You said she's already helping you with your business so much, right?
Yeah.
Have her start an LLC. You hire her LLC to be the manager of your business. She's a management company.
Yeah, we could do
now
that.
You buy the car in her LLC.
Right.
So it's just about getting creative. But again, we didn't know to come up with that until you said, "Hey, she wants to buy a car."
Right.
Now we know she wants to buy a car.
Yeah.
We know that she's helping you internally with your business.
Shannon
Fishko Screens hires her to be your manager.
So a bookkeeper.
Exactly.
You can be
all encompassing admin. You know what I'm
thing.
saying? And so anytime she's doing day to
I
day.
don't think she'll like that.
Well, in any case, it's just about buying the car in the LLC.
Exactly.
Because you can write off 80% of the sticker price in year one from your taxes. So even if I go buy a car.
I got a question for that because I had a dude tell me I had to weigh over a certain amount of pounds. What is that?
Yeah, so there is technically you need to have it over 6,000 pounds, right?
So I got to get like a Suburban.
No, you can get like an F-150.
Yeah.
Yeah.
6,000 pounds?
Yeah. So the whole thing is that you can write off 80%. And that's why, a lot of rich people get the G-Wagon and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? But again, you can write off 80% of the sticker price, right? So let's just use easy math. If the car's $100,000, I could write off $80,000, even if I walked in, put no down payment down, right? And the best time to do this is in November, right? Because when you buy a house, when you buy a car, your first payment on that mortgage or the first payment on that loan is typically not going to be due for sometimes up to 60 days, maybe 45 days, right? So if I go into the dealership in November and I say, hey, I want that brand new truck, they say, okay, it's $100,000. I say, perfect. And they say, how much money are you going to put down? I say, $0. They say, okay. And they say, well, your payment's going to be $1,500 a month. And I say, perfect. When's my first payment? They say January 1st. I say, okay. So January 1st of 2025 is going to be my first payment, but I bought it in November.
The whole $80,000.
Right, but I wrote off $80,000 for my taxes in 2024.
Nice.
And I haven't even spent $1 on that thing, right? So when it comes around in January 1st, I'm still going to owe that $1,500, but I just negated my tax bill by $80,000.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You'll probably get money back because you're not going to be able to generate that amount of money.
So that's why they say for your business, you should always be buying a new car every 2 to 3 years. Because again, if I wrote off 80% in year one, I only have 20% left in write-offs. So in that same example, if the car cost $100,000, I only have $20,000 left in write-offs, right?
The next 2 years.
So I can either use that all in year two or you go $10,000, but by year three, I'm out of write-offs. I need to go turn in that truck, right? Trade it in and go buy a new truck and do the exact same thing.
Dang.
You know what I'm saying?
There's always different loopholes.
You got to use the system to your advantage, but a lot of times we don't spend time learning that side of it.
Well, see, and that's the thing. It's not even. Well, see, me personally, it's hard to be able to make the time.
For sure.
Because now you were talking about earlier, being able to manage the time for work and family.
Yep.
So now you got to be able to manage time to better educate yourself, to better financially, better support both of those.
Yep.
That's where it's tough.
Well, this is what you do. So the times that you would normally go sit on the couch after work, and that might be your me time with you and your wife to go watch the show that you guys like watching together. Well, although it's fun to watch, TV and stuff with your loved ones or live sports, technically that's the lowest form of intimacy anyways, right? Sitting next to each other watching TV.
Yes.
Right? So just pick one day out of the week where you're saying, hey, what's your goal for the year? My goal is to get a new car, right? Even if it's 12 months away, okay, well, let's just spend one night a week getting on our phones and Googling what we can find. Let's research it, Yeah. But start with one thing at a time, you know what I'm saying? And then you'll say, okay, I like these 3 cars, or they're at these 3 price points. I'm going to need this, But again, I think you can't get creative until you have a over-encompassing goal, like an all-encompassing goal, right? So, and again, a lot of times, even if somebody says, hey, I ask people all the time, hey, if you had unlimited money or you won the lotto, like, what would you do? A lot of people say, oh, I would travel. Okay, where would you go? And they can normally list off their top 2 places. but it would take them more than a few minutes to list off 10 places to travel to.
Exactly.
Right? Because we never actually spent time to actually think about things that we actually want to do.
Yeah.
You know, we do it at work. We start our day with a to-do list, but I would say make a to-do list for your life. You know what I'm saying? And then start checking things off and doing the research, right? Like you should have a note in your phone of the top 10 places you want to go vacation, the next 10 restaurants you want to go to, right? And so, like, again, just be more purposeful with our time and the things that we want to do. We're not doing it for somebody else. We do this for somebody else. We do it for clients all the time, right? We're giving them that service. I always say, like, you know, treat your life like you treat your business.
Very much
in regards to being, you know, just detailed and specific about what you want to do, right? So, again, the car is a great example, and that's just one example we just shot off the top of our head or how you can make that happen. But again, you're not going to have that option without the LLC.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so that's normally the first step. And again, LLC doesn't mean a business. LLC just means limited liability, right? You still might want to look into umbrella policies. You still need to go make sure your business is registered with the state. And there's a lot of other stuff that obviously we talked about a little bit. But yeah, man, I would just say that, you know, have your business goals, have your personal goals, and attack them the same way from how you prepare and plan to execute on them.
Well, with that being said, then I'm probably just gonna have to change my goals already.
There you
know
go.
What I mean?
Goals are meant to be flexible, you know?
Exactly, and that's the thing. It's just it changes on a daily.
Yeah.
You just never know. I mean, as much as she wants a new car, I mean, I do too. I mean, the work truck's getting wore out. I've had it for a while.
Yep.
So it's just one of those things. It's just something to look into. But definitely learning. If I'm not learning, last year I definitely had to when it comes to the taxes.
Sure.
I didn't realize all the stuff that we just mentioned. So, or paying myself, or like you said with the books, like the separate accounts, like you got to keep business.
And then when turning your LLC to an S corp of how it's taxed, so that you can
too.
take, you know, you can pay yourself and then just pay the self-employment tax, right, which is much lower than being an employee.
Yes.
And then at that point, instead of, you know, let's say you want to pay yourself $50,000 a year, right, just say for easy math, and then you pay the self-employment tax on that. Now you're all well and good. Any other money you want to take from the business, you just need to take owner's draws. Yeah. Right? You don't want to take a salary, right? Because then it's going to be a different tax bracket. Yeah, I mean, these are all things you'll learn, you'll get better at. And again, you're asking the right questions. And you know, again, you'll fine tune it as you find the path that you want to go down. But, you know, to wrap things up right now, you know, what piece of advice would you give yourself based on what you know now? So what piece of advice would you give yourself this time last year based on what you know now?
I feel like prayer
is
the biggest thing for anybody and anything. Just pray about things before you make a decision on any of them. A lot of times when you're at a job, you don't think about things like that. But definitely praying about it is huge for me.
Absolutely.
If I would have done that more last year, I think it would have helped me. I still struggle with it now, but it's just one of those things. Like I know that God's real and He can help me. So if I can apply that to my life, it could help me in other situations. And just sitting here today, it's a blessing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I would just say just spend more time with Him and just spend more time with my family and just try to do the right thing. At the end of the day, that's my biggest MO is just do the right thing. Yeah. And I think that's what was going to drive me to do better regardless of where I'm at.
Yeah, I agree, and that's powerful and positive. So, but hey, I again appreciate you taking the time to step away from your busy schedule and kind of spend some time with me, and hopefully, you know, somebody hearing this episode might pull something from it.
Oh,
and,
I hope so.
Man, we'll keep chopping, and you know, we'll keep doing the work that needs to be done, and you know, I think it'll lead to good things as long as, like you said, we keep trying to do the right thing.
For sure.
All right, man.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you, man.
Until next time.